Systema ground fighting is different to most forms of grappling, in the sense that most forms of grappling are teaching you how to engage one opponent and control them, then pin them, then isolate a weapon, such as an arm, a leg, or their neck, and submit them. Systema ground fighting is looking at a wider range of options for street fighting or for battlefield combat, whereas you might be dealing with somebody who has a weapon or multiple opponents with weapons, and that takes a very different approach to combat. So we'll start with how to condition the body for the type of work that we're going to do. The best way to do this is not to overstretch or overwork, but to just start by warming up your body almost as if you're waking up in the morning. And just breathing and trying to relax as much as possible, but at the same time work your limbs and your movement as if you're kind of yawning and stretching, and just slowly building or trying to take the tension out of your muscles and tendons. So just start by breathing, working, and slowly moving your body. But what I'm trying to do is just kind of move my body so that it warms itself without breaking my form too much. In different ways. And then start to just allow yourself to sink into the ground. So I'm just allowing myself to kind of fall, using gravity as my lever into the ground, as opposed to trying to force anything and overwarm or overstretch my tendons. I'm trying to find positions that my body can go in that constrict my breathing, and learn how to maybe, if I'm in a position where my breathing is difficult, I want to pick an organ maybe to breathe through or to imagine breathing through, and you'll find as you're doing this that you actually are allowing your lung to expand in different ways rather than just the way that it's used to breathing. We'll just do partner work first of all, so he's going to put his hands up, grab my hands, and we're going to start just by doing push-ups. So breathe in and out, breathe in, changing, inhale and breathe in the whole time. You can see each time I'm changing with the push-up. Another type of push-up drill that I can do for this is preparing his body for the ground, but also preparing mine for how to place fists on the body for striking. So I'm going to put my weight over him, push into the various areas that I'm placing my hands, do my push-up, change the hand, do the push-up, change the hand, change my body position to the push-up, change again. Each time learning how to balance my body in any position. And we'll build this into actually movement with them on the ground later on, and you'll see how this builds up. Use one hand. So this time I'm going to get Jeff to turn over and be on all fours. And I'm going to sit basically on his shoulders and hook my feet underneath his knees. Keep my back as straight as possible and relax. And breathe in and relax. You see how I'm trying to relax this area of my body? And also learning how to shift the tension through different parts of my body as I'm moving. Obviously this is work for Jeff too, because he has to deal with my body weight in different positions. So the same thing, he's just going to hook his ankles in, his feet, and he's going to relax as much as possible and go back. Relax his arms, and now just use different parts of his stomach and his core to pick himself back up. And again, this is work for me. And this is another type of work I can start to do, is to start to do kind of a in-place push-up. So I'm also working at the same time. And extending my back. So I'm dealing with the pressure of him working as well, and creating different tensions in my body that I know I can use and also escape from. He's going to do a sit-up, keep his back as straight as possible, relax his legs. Good. And I'm going to start to put pressure on him as he comes up. Not too much, just enough. And he's got to find a way up. And as he's going down, I'm going to create pressure again. He's going to try and stop me. Good. Let me put your hand here and push down. And I'm going to try and stop his motion as much as possible. Without causing overt pressure in my body, trying to keep as much relaxed as possible, so I'm just using whatever it is that I need to use. Again, he's going to try and keep his back straight as possible. He's going to relax, go down, bend his knees, keep his hips in, and come back up, and I'm going to give him pressure this time, so that he has to kind of work his way back up. Work up, good. See how he's transferring the energy through his body so that no one part is forcing into him. So now he's going to try and hook his hips underneath him. There you go. Come back up. So as I'm going down, I'm trying to keep my back as straight as possible and stop him from being able to push me down. But at the same time now I'm going to try and work my way back up. My back as straight as possible, so he's pushing down and I'm stopping him from pushing me down, but at the same time going down. And now I'm going to try and work away so my hips come up. Jeff lay across my chest, and I'll start to do sit-ups. Roll him off. And then he's going to go into the same position, and I'm going to lay on top of him. He's going to sit up, and then get back on top of me. Back on top of him. And now he's going to try and stand up. Same to me. So you're building up your body as to how to lift someone if you needed to without causing yourself damage. Maybe I'll turn over this time. And then we can do the same thing with like push-ups. When I'm working, he's trying to sit up and stand up. We'll do one more conditioning drill with your legs. Obviously that's a very important factor on the ground, is to be able to control your core and be able to use your legs independently. A good way to start with that is to have them on top of you and get their body weight and start to learn how to do like reverse and push-ups. This, and then lift them, turn them. And just use your legs. So rather than just start with your feet, start with your shins maybe. Change to your feet. Turn them with your feet and work them that way. You can also do the same thing from the rear position where you're using your feet again to control that. It's quite difficult. Now you're starting to look at how to turn underneath them and stay in control. And all he's doing is using his body weight. Let's look at some of these movements together. And some of the exercises I'm doing here are purely for tendon strength. For example, when I'm working like this and stretching myself out as much as possible, I'm just working because it's very difficult to engage a lot of the muscles because you're stretched out. And these types of exercises condition your tendons very well. You also want to be able to work from any position really. So I could work by building my tendon strength or muscle strength this way. So now I can change my body position to this if I need to and fight from this position. If I need to move in this position. If I need to raise from this position. Again, I want to do it without creating tension in my body. I'm working this way. Learn how to keep your body off the ground if you need to. So from here, if you need to, I can step out without going onto something maybe sharp like glass or broken or something that could be on the ground. Working lots of different ways. Look at how to extend your movement. So that you have freedom on the ground. And freedom is the key to working in these positions. Now obviously, standing up and moving is a lot different to being on the ground and moving. But you have to have the same level of mobility on the ground as you do when you're standing. Otherwise you're going to get caught and easily controlled, especially by a skilled fighter. I mean, they're just going to control you just like that, isn't there? No two ways about it. The way to start doing this is by, obviously, you can work by yourself, which is what I'm going to do here to show you how to start to condition your body for this sort of thing. Majority of movement on the ground is controlled by your hips, I would say. If you can move your hips, it means you can move. If you can move your core, it means you can move. If you can only move your hands and feet, these things are kind of like attached to the center. But if the center doesn't go anywhere, then your body's not going to go anywhere. So you want to be able to move this part, and everything else will move with it. So good ways of working to sort of build up your core is to maybe find positions in your body where everything is off the ground apart from the core parts, like the hips. And then learn how to move the hips. So everything is related to your hip movement rather than I'm moving this and then trying to move my hips in some position or another. So if I literally just kind of walk around on this part of my hip, it looks funny, but it works. Go backwards, sideways, forward. That's one way to start to move your hips. It's also another way to free up your central movement. That's from the chest up. So now I want to turn and do the same type of movement. From the chest down. And then even isolate movement. So I have no ability to use my hands or legs. Work on your hands, your feet, move around, relax. Do kind of like push-up drills, walking drills, turning. Learn how to get comfortable on the ground. That doesn't involve core movement all the time. You can do it by duck walking, sitting, back up, going centrally down, back up. Then start to combine them. So my body now is becoming free on the ground without causing too much tension in my body. And if I do find tension, I learn how to transfer it in different ways so that I'm not getting locked into one position. So I'm going to do a simple one first of all, where he just comes on top of me here. All I'm going to do is control one limb, spin underneath him, extend that limb as much as possible so that I have control of the shoulder with my hip. And the break is not pulling his arm down. I can basically pull his arm down almost to the ground before it snaps. But I could just literally hold this with one finger here, just to, for an example, shift my hips up a little bit and he taps immediately. So the break is not involved in how much I move the arm, but how much I control the limb using my hips. So we'll do this again. So I'm going to shift to this side so you can see it. Shift underneath. move him over, try and get my hips as close to his shoulder as possible, move him down, and it's really my hips moving up from here and not so much my arm pulling down that creates the whole break. So same thing from the other side. I'm just going to shift, but this time I'm going to work so that he comes out and I create the break from this position. So this is a lot of type of drills you can do just to work by either moving them away with your hips, creating the break here, so I have my hands free. Moving them into position where you're controlling the arm and breaking it this way. These again are more sort of static breaks, but this is how you learn how to ballistic break, is by starting with the static type breaks. So I go for maybe this sort of straight armbar position. So basically what I'm looking for is this. So the arm is straight, as you can see here, and everything is controlled, and if I pull the arm this way, it's going to break. Now of course Nanami understands this, and so what he's going to try and do is pull his elbow back, and so I can't get that straight arm. So what I have to do now is change the plane of my motion. So now that my pressure is going to go in this direction instead of in this direction. So now, as he goes to here, I'm going to create the pressure this way and this way. And so now the shoulder, Malami doesn't look very happy with that, but the shoulder is going to pop out in this, because there's very little hold in the shoulder in this direction. So going in that direction is going to break out the shoulder that way. Anything from here, again, you can see that his body weight alone is enough to break the shoulder out. So not everything you're doing is trying to break the limb, but to disable the limb. Anything where you start to twist the motion, again, see how his body, what it wants to do is escape this way. So come out of it by escaping. There. And you can see how his body, and this is what he's going to do to try and survive. So if I control his motion here, basically his body weight becomes the thing that breaks the arm, or dislocates the shoulder in this case. And now look at maybe how my arm does the same thing. Instead of using my leg now I'm using, if you look at my foot, see how it's controlling his extension of his movement. And if you come back to my elbow, you'll see how that extension pulls this straight. And now my arm, if I just lock this in, relax and pop, again, I have a break. So now I can kind of look at how to break the arm in any number of positions with any part of my body, and this will start to create what we call ballistic breaks. See what I'm doing with Manami is slowly finding break position however he's working. So with my chin, knees, elbows, I can set him up by repositioning him. See how by positioning him here, slipping my hip in, the break becomes available to me. And even in him trying to maybe push out with this other hand so that I can then switch to that and create that as the break. So this is a drill you can work. Basically, as he's working on top, I work very slowly, find the break in the motion. Basically, a drill like this would involve maybe Jeff trying to come in, and what I want to do is start to look at how to position him so that I don't move, but he does. So if I need him to cover my rear, and I can use that. Also, finger locking. Things like that can be very useful in situations like this. It can be useful when other people are coming in with weapons. Say somebody's coming from this position here. Sure, it's a knife. Say he's coming across here and he's coming in. I can use him to control that part of the motion. Yeah. Again, the more relaxed my motion, oops. The harder for them to understand. And I can start to combine work where I'm breaking in one sense and using that out of their desire to survive from that. See how it opens them up into something else. So if he tries to survive that, I can use that to cover a different part of my motion, or a different part of where I am. And of course this is just manipulation work, I'm not striking yet. But this is all the same type of work. If they give you things, then, you know, it'd be rude not to take them. So you're basically working, so maybe if I was working in a position here, on my back, look at how to manipulate them around you as you need. Here. Another important factor is trying to separate their body, which basically means that if Jeff was to lie on his back here and turtle up, this is a good position for him to have power in, because all of his limbs and his muscles are fairly close together. If you think about, like in terms, if I was just to sort of lift Jeff, the best thing for me to do is get him close to me as possible, and because all my muscles basically are engaging with each other and they have an opportunity to work together. If I was to try and lift him like a forklift and have my arms as far away from my body as possible, is obviously the more separation, the harder for me to work. So what I want to do now with Jeff is, as he's starting to grab a hold of me or something like that, is slowly move him apart so that I separate his limbs as much as possible, so it's hard for him to re-engage his core and pull everything together. So I'm going to do this very slowly. So however he works, I'm going to place him in a position that separates him as much as possible from his core position. So however he works, I'm going to work in a way to separate his limbs so they're as far apart away from each other as possible, and open up his core so it can't compress. So there are different ways of looking at that is by working with them. I can separate in these directions. Work with him, separate him as much as possible. And again, this is not really for pinning work, but just to separate the body position, open him up as much as possible, make it harder for him to recompress. So I'll just work with it like this for a bit, so you can kind of see the work. Not difficult. And it's just problem solving, really. I sort of say to myself, okay, I have a limb, I'm going to place it somewhere, and instead of allowing him to pull himself together, you see how he's trying to pull himself together to get back out of that, I'm going to stop that motion. So I have a limb, and open that up, separate his limbs as much as possible. See how I'm separating his hip from his shoulder? And that makes it difficult for him to get up. Reposition, open him up. See how what he wants to do is turn into this to have that. So if I open up his limbs, again, more separation, the harder for him to work. And so, when I'm fighting with somebody, if I get into more of a grappling situation, that opening, that separation, allows me to create these breaks. The more extended their limbs are, the more likely I am to break them. So try and fight from everywhere, you know? Look at their position. If there's some way to separate their limbs out. Oh. So we'll start with putting somebody, and we'll just have a look at what a choke is. So I'm going to just turn Josh around here. So basically what I'm trying to do is to either cut off the blood flow, which is going to be the carotid arteries here to the brain, or cut off the airway to the lungs. So either I'm going to go, so if you imagine the throat is kind of like a triangle, this is the back of the triangle, this is the tip of the triangle. What I want to do is either control each side of the triangle to cut off the blood. You'll see that it takes a little while to do. Or control the front of it to cut off the airway. Now this is a lot more dangerous as a ballistic type break because you can snap the cartilages around the throat, and obviously if that happens you're going to be in a lot of trouble, so be very careful. So two types of things we're going to look at. So one, cutting off the blood, two, cutting off the air. And you can see how quickly one works compared to the other. This is blood. Takes a little while. Airway, immediate. So you have to protect yourself against this, but you also have to understand what it is. So let's look at how to actually apply these in a Systema sense, as opposed to more traditional sort of choking. So what you're going to do is relax your body and just allow your arm to wrap and work and position the head so that you get the reaction, and it can be as much as just turning your wrist in, creating the right pressure, and obviously controlling his head. The more I pull him into the choke, the more his body wants to survive it by slipping out. So as I'm applying the choke, if I control the head, it's much more difficult for him, and that's what really creates the choke itself. So just kind of start by moving with them and slowly using your hands, your fingers, the pressure of his head to create it. And eventually what you want to do is work in a way that he's moving from one into the other without having an opportunity to survive one or the other. Less conventional chokes and things you can do is by using the fingers to grab around the trachea. You can put one thumb in the one side and grab the whole side and shift the trachea to the side. Very effective, very dangerous, so be careful. You can roll your fist into it and push the neck into the choke. This can be very useful if they're lying on their back or something like that. I'm on top. Let's turn to the side here. And instead of trying to sort of find some way to choke him, literally just place your hand in there as a fist and create the choke that way. It could also be from the top. If he's working to here, if I grab his shirt and push, again, these may not be enough necessarily to completely choke them out, but if you look at his body position, see how things change immediately. So once he's in body position here, all these other breaks that we were doing earlier, these type of ballistic breaking, become available. So once I'm in there, see how the break becomes available to me here. Well, that's enough to turn him over. If Josh wants to put me in a traditional sort of armbar, there's various points of this that he needs. He needs my arm outstretched, he needs his hips roughly around my shoulders or some area around there, and he needs his legs to control the top half of my body. Now, if any one of these factors is not controlled properly, then I own the real estate as to how to get out. So if he releases my hand, then I can easily get out. Yeah? If he releases my head, then I can easily get out. So whatever, either end of the hips, if I can control one of those areas, I can start to control how to get out of this. So obvious things to think about first of all is just releasing the feet over the top, match his angle, and I'm out. This side so you can see it. So any position here where I can get my hands underneath and release my head this way is going to allow me to start to get out. Anything that allows me to tip his hands out will allow me to get out. So if he has a hold of this and I literally just tip his elbow out, I can get out that way. Yeah. If I stay in this position, obviously again he has an ability to lock me. But so if I keep my arm in this position but change my body position, again I can get out. It makes it very difficult for him to have the leverage to do anything to break. Now there's another position he has to be in to get me in. This is sitting up. So if he's here, okay, then if I can control my hand. Now there are different ways for him to break my hands out to get what he wants, but that takes work for him. And in doing so, I can free my own hand. Again, now I'm in a position where he's pulled himself backwards and I'm coming forwards and getting my weight on top of him. A desperate sort of maneuver, but one that definitely works as well, especially with shoes on the street. If he's pulling backwards and I've lost it, then he's working into the range of my feet. And a good kick to the temple can, that can be a good sleepy time, or the back of the head. And the problem is with this is they don't really understand where the motion's coming from, because my leg obviously is a lot longer than my arm. And so instead of me trying to do something here, which could be very ineffective, that can be very effective. Another thing I can do is start to release in this direction. So as he's moving, I want to go in the reverse direction to his motion. And that's probably the best way out for your arm, because it's always constantly changing the angle that he was working at. So if I'm working in this way and I work out this way, then I'm always in an angle that's hard. Now he has no break at all, and my arm is basically in this direction. And all I got to do is move out. So that's some ways of looking at how to get out of arm locks like that, or even cross-pin arms. As such, like, again, very dangerous. But if I move my hips out, again, hard for him to control the arm from that position. So instead of trying to fight the arm bar, get your hands maybe underneath him and work out this way, and you're in a good position. But this is assuming you allow them to get this far into the lock, but of course you can't determine exactly what's going to happen all the time, so you want to work from the worst case scenarios rather than always the best case scenarios, which is where you're in control. Another way to look at things, if he puts me into an ankle lock or something like that, again, what he needs is this extension here. If he truly allows me just to sort of come up from this, then it's not hard for me to get close. And that's what I want to do, is try and get my body back together. So the closer my knee and shoulder is to my foot, the harder for him to actually create that type of lock. Even if he wraps his leg over the top, again, I'm going to go in the direction of this and kind of work in this way to get close, my foot close to my shoulder. The closer I am, the harder for him to create the break. It's very basic sort of jiu-jitsu stuff, really. But maybe he wraps the leg over the top. They often forget is this foot. Okay. which is very painful, you know, and you want to kind of break the collarbone, break the head, break the stomach, even into the groin. So anytime they're so you're working from here and he flips backwards to try and get that block, you just start hammering with this foot if you can't turn. And, you know, you can easily knock somebody out doing that. I've seen it happen a few times, actually. So the idea now then is to kind of basically then start to slowly put you into arm bars and choke, and you start to move with them immediately so that you're freeing yourself before they become an issue. And it can be by just literally unwrapping what they're doing, changing your position. So you're staying relaxed. Don't necessarily wait for them to do something. If you feel like they're going to move, then move. You know, it can be as simple as just moving your foot out the way, whatever it is that they're doing. Don't really have the same constraints they do in a lot of systems of grappling. So whatever I feel is appropriate can often be appropriate. Grabbing the toes, grabbing the fingers, breaking, immediately finding positions. So the initial thing I can do is just kind of drop my chin and start to even get my hands up to protect my arm, to protect my throat from being choked by the pressure of the arm. Another thing I can do to try and open up the airway, because obviously it's the blood that's being stopped or the air that's being restricted. If I take my tongue and push it into the roof of my mouth, look at how the muscles of my neck become almost like a triangle from here down, and that gives me an opportunity, like a wall around the artery and around the throat. Now this isn't, you know, this isn't the Great Wall of China. It's not going to last forever. It's going to last for a couple of seconds, maybe not. But it will give you time, and time is the most important factor when you're being choked. You have to survive long enough to defend yourself once the actual choke is on. There are other ways of working. We'll work into that in a minute. But stretching out time and not panicking is the key to surviving chokes. So even if he comes on again and I push up, I've given myself a lot of time, or more time. Now, isolating this part of the body, again, when he's choking me, where is his brain? His brain now is in this arm. It's deciding what to do. The more I flail this around, the more he's going to try and choke. So one way of working initially is to be choked, control the choke, and then even push your shoulders up to control and drop your chin as much as possible. See how much other parts of your body you can move without affecting his choke. So that you can get to the side of it and start to work it out. If you know, again, somebody knows how to choke and has you in a serious choke position, you know, everyone's seen the UFC. It's not easy to get out of, but not impossible either. And the first way to do that is, as you start to feel the choke coming on, is just to move in the direction that it's working in. So as I feel something coming on, try and move out of the choke. Back a little bit. So as something's coming in, move out of the choke, relax your body. Either move them or move you. But the idea is to try and save yourself from getting caught in the choke by not necessarily pulling your head out, but moving your body out. So if I try and, the problem is when something happens, you panic, and what happens is you kind of lock this part of the body and you try and move your head out, but obviously you're holding yourself in position. So what you want to try and do is kind of move and use this part of the body to relax and escape, so that your head is kind of like being pulled loosely through the position, rather than, or through the choke, rather than you trying to sort of force your head out and then letting your body keep you locked in position. This again, he's in the choke position, he wants to wrap up my body and try and control me this way. Another thing you can try and do is to turn and face as much as possible. If he gets into a complete sort of position here, what I really have to do from here, obviously if he crosses his feet, that's kind of easy for me. I can kind of break the ankle out in that position. Ideally I want to get one side or the other of this arm. If I can get to this side of the arm, it's hard for him to choke me again. I can start to work. So, working just how to fight these types of grips without causing too much tension again in your body. Once he wraps you up, try and turn and face him. So I'm going to use my body movement now to try and face him. So watch how I turn my feet and my hips. In traditional grappling, going into a guard position or even a butterfly guard, which are excellent ways of fighting. But if I'm fighting with someone like Joe, and we come onto the ground and he gets on top of me and I decide to control him with something like a guard or something like that, great, as long as Joe's the only person involved. The problem with this is that Joe's, you know, a fully grown man, and I've now wrapped that much weight around my body, and if somebody else was to get involved in this fight, I have to not only deal with my body weight, but I have to deal with his body weight as well, and he's an active fighting opponent, which is very difficult to do. So what I want to do, rather than get into a grappling situation, is get into more of a movement situation with my opponents, if that's possible. Obviously, sometimes these things are useful, and you're going to use them. Never say never in a fight. You know, always say maybe. So I'm just going to start by moving around him and teaching my body how to move in different ways. Feet first, head first, over the top, changing direction, using my core movement. backwards. So what we'll start is by doing the same drill that we were doing, except this time you're going to put pressure on them and they've got to kind of slide out of it. So Joe's going to do the same drill. And as he gets to a certain position, I'm going to put my hand on him and he's got to move out of that. Keep working. I'm going to put my leg, he's got to keep moving. So I'm just putting pressure on him now. And he's got to keep working in the same way so that his body is never getting trapped. He's constantly in motion, but still achieving his objective, which is to move around me instead of engaging with me. And so we'll change around now. I'll do the same work. This angle maybe. So I'm moving. Now, as I feel the pressures in my body, I've got to figure out how to keep moving without disrupting the flow of the motion. Get it? Yeah. It's pretty simple. You're just basically creating obstacles for your opponent by creating pressure for them. And it's just the same as someone trying to hold you down or pin you and stop you from moving. And if you allow that, then obviously, you know, they can take the advantage. To understand how to move with something that's an obstruction, not get caught up in the idea that you have to fight it, but how to move with it. So I'm moving around, doing the same things I was doing before. As soon as I feel something, I'm just going to use that to work them into something. One way of looking at this is to literally just be in a position like this. Maybe they hook a leg and just keep rolling with the motion until you find the break. But when I say rolling, again, I don't necessarily mean sort of like trying to dive over there. Maybe he hooks a leg up or something. I want to relax my body, find a way through his motion until I discover a break or a lock or something. I'm trying not to get totally into a submission position with him if I can help it. Again, because it's tying me up. But this is a very good way of training. So I'll do the same thing with Joe. He's going to move around wherever he feels. And at some point I will randomly stop him. He's going to use that motion to hook me up. Now we just start to pick up the pace a little bit. But keep the level of relaxation in your movement. So now I'm going to start with Eric and Joe, and they're both going to be basically just head to head in this. And I'm going to use both of them as an obstacle. And they're not going to do anything initially other than stay there. And I'm going to work however I feel how to get through more than one person You can see how this will be used for like a crowd situation or something, or maybe a nightclub where things have gone crazy or whatever, you know, wherever you're at, church, I don't know. Who knows? But what I'm going to do is, as I'm starting to move now, is they're going to start putting pressure on me, just like Joe was by himself. So, as I'm moving through, he puts pressure, and maybe that's shifting over here, put pressure, I feel the pressure again, pressure through. So your body never really has a chance to do anything other than work with whatever it is they're giving you. You see how that changes your direction. But at the same time, achieve your goal of moving in, up, over. Okay? And then obviously they can change positions. It can be more than one person. You can have 3, 4, 5 people in the same group. So if Eric does it, and Joe and I, maybe side by side, so he's going to move, create pressure. He's going to slide off of these, keep moving through. I'm going to change position. I'm going to change position. Joe's going to change position. So we're not making it too hard, but we're not giving him a picture that he expected each time. Every time the picture is changing, and his mind has to take it without forming an image in his head as to what he expects each time. Now we'll do the same drill, and these guys are going to move around, and they're going to try and catch a limb, and I'll see if I can roll them out and move with them, so we'll combine all the drills that we did there. So however they move, if he catches my leg, or whatever it is, I'm going to move however keeps me comfortable moving. Get the idea? Maybe Joe can try this so you can kind of see it. So you just kind of put yourself in random positions, let him start moving. Good, very good. He's going to catch, put pressure on him. Eric will put pressure on him. So to stop him from forcing into submission positions and staying there. So now, so each time he feels like he must be in a submission position, put some different pressure on him, so he has to move out. It can't be, okay, I want to make this guy tap. It's got to be break and move. The problem with a grappling situation is it doesn't really appreciate a weapon involved. If I grab Joe and push him back, he might push against me with his strength to come in to grapple with me. But if I touch him with a knife, then he has no choice but to move off of it. Now, how does Joe know whether I've got a hand or a knife in a dark alley, in a situation, or wherever? He doesn't. So what he does is treat everything as if it were a knife. And that gives you a much higher level of sensitivity in your motion. So what we're going to do is a touch drill. So he's just going to touch me, and I'm going to move off it. Now whatever I do, I'm going to counter his movement. And then he's going to counter mine, and whatever happens, we're going to counter each other's movement. So there's no point where one of us is fighting to push past one or the other. Whatever you feel, you move. Doesn't matter what it is. Foot, knee, you're always countering. And now your body's getting used to moving off of something and countering it at the same time. So once you get used to doing this, you'll start to see how useful it is for working out where the tension is in their body and how to eventually strike that. So obviously I'm going to close my eyes so that you get a higher level of sensitivity, so you're not relying on what you see but what you feel. So now we're going to do the same sensitivity drill. And as I'm controlling his motion, I'm going to look at how to work off what he does and create a break out of that, maybe, or a lock. It could be any number of. So your body starts to recognize how to move off of things and take opportunities out of them. As they avail themselves to you. So I'm going to be the central guy, and all they're going to do is touch, and I'm going to try and work off everything that they do. So I'm not engaging any one person. So that each person is kind of moving me from the next one in an unusual way, so that my motion, again, has nothing to do with flexibility, but more to do with freedom of movement. So now I'm just starting to look at how to control their motion by countering from one into the other. So stop a second. So if Joe, so if Joe pushes me in one direction and I move off of that, instead of countering Joe, I might counter Jeff. And as he comes in, as Eric comes in, I might use that to counter Joe's movement. And as Jeff comes in, I'm moving off of that. And so I'm starting to look at how to work at them as a group, rather than as three individuals. I'm starting to see what's useful to me, how one might pull me out of the fight into a different position. So if I'm moving off him, I might affect him. Moving off him, I might affect him. Moving, Joe's pushing around here, I might affect him. Off this position, So as I'm moving off Jeff, coming through here, getting opportunities to work. See how Jeff completely pulled me out of motion there. Okay, now I'm going to work in a way that completely avoids them if I can. So that I create space opportunities as I see them. When someone's trying to get control of you, they are naturally trying to control the center part of your motion. If they can control the center, they can control the perimeter. If Josh grabbed my foot without controlling anything else, all I have to do is move my center up and I can kind of control his motion again. So that's one way of looking at it. If he grabs an arm, I just move around the arm rather than trying to pull my arm back. You've got to remember, when somebody grabs some part of you or tries to control some part of you, that's essentially where their brain is. If Josh grabs my arm, his brain has now transferred pretty well from here, and his visual abilities or cortex to his touch sensitivity. So his brain is now shifted from here to thinking about grabbing me to actually grabbing me, and this is where his brain essentially is. So if I shake his brain up, he understands something's going wrong. If I don't shake his brain up, then it's hard for him to appreciate that something happened. So he's going to pin a motion, and I'm just going to try and see if I can work around it without changing the thing that he had. So whatever position I'm in, if he grabs a limb, I'm going to leave the limb there, move my body. Leave the limb where it is, move my body. Yeah? See what he grabs, leave the limb there, move my body. The more I leave the limb in position, the later his mind's going to pick up on what is happening. So all he's going to do is get on top of me and control me however he wants to do that. And the best thing for me to do in this situation is just observe that instead of trying to fight it all the time. So all I'm going to do is, as he works, I'm just going to almost switch off to the fact that I have my own body and just almost look outside of my eyes and see what's happening. So I'm just going to be like an automaton, and I'm just going to see what his body needs, see how the tension is building, and see how the tension built there for him to step. That's what I want to affect. So first of all, I have to recognize the tension and then work with it. So now I'm going to start to look at the things that he's generating and see if I can work with them without disturbing him. So it's definitely different to the position that he was originally in. It really doesn't have to be much, and this is just a movement drill. I'm not trying to sort of say that this is necessarily the end of the fight or anything. that's the end of the fight. No, I'm joking. Well, okay. So I'm just looking from whatever position I'm in, how to upset his initial positioning without him realizing that things are changing. So I'll just do this for a minute and you'll kind of get the idea. Not always the best place to be in a combat situation is underneath somebody. I'm not saying that it's not useful, I'm just saying that if you can, it's probably an idea to get on top of somebody if possible. Obviously if someone's coming here like this and maybe I have to use them to block somebody else, maybe trying to stab me or something, and I use them as a shield. So it's not a position you don't want to use, but for the sake of this drill, what we're going to do is look at how to turn over the person. So what you want to do is look at how to work with them so that you end up on top. So we're basically doing the same type of feel of the disruption drill, but use the motion to end up on top of them. Now you'll see that a lot of the times when you're working with somebody, what they actually do is when you work with them, they actually pull you on top of them. Because their momentum, they're not in control, they're a slave to their momentum, more so than you, possibly. So when they're working and falling, that falling motion, if I just link to it, can be something I can actually use to pull me back up. And now again I have control in a more centralized sort of sense. I can see around me and control this person at the same time. It can be useful. I'm not saying it's the only way to work, but it's an interesting way to work. So use that motion to find out how to get back on top of them. They literally just pull you up. That's it. So slight disruption. If they force forward again, use that motion just to roll them, end up back on top. You know, and you're in a position then to, it's better for me to hit somebody coming down than it is trying to strike up, because, you know, I gain gravity. That can help a lot. So again, I'll just kind of use a rolling drill here, just to look at how to reposition yourself so that you end up on top of that. I think you can see how those conditioning drills earlier are very useful in this sense. Very relaxed. Let their body weight just pull you over. Now the way to start by doing this is just get them to sort of sit up and start to use the tension that they're using, recognize how that it's starting to build in their body, and just get them to change their attitude of their motion just by touch, just by seeing what part of their body is starting to become tense. And affecting that. And then as you're doing that, then do the same thing. Use different parts of your body now for the same actions. And then use your whole body to control their motion. So if he uses his legs to try and arch me over, I'm going to position myself here. If he uses his chairs. And I'm kind of relaxing and using my body weight, and then he's going to start to slowly roll around. And I'm going to just kind of surf his motion. So I'm very relaxed, controlling his tension through my motion, not worrying about being in one position or another on top of him. Being anywhere, basically, that controls his motion. Any way that I need to, without feeling I have to lock down in one position or another. Very good drop. Very good drop. Very good for opening them up. Staying in motion, especially against multiple opponents. So if he does the same thing to me, it's good for me to work also from this position. It's just figure out how to stay relaxed, moving with somebody, and staying in motion with them instead of kind of locking down and trying to push them off. Come on. Keep moving. Figure out what's moving. Keep moving. Without expending too much energy, because you can use a lot of energy on the body trying to get up. So then we'll build that into a very slow kind of pushing draw with the hands. So Eric's going to lie here. And I'm going to be here. And he's slowly going to roll. And I'm going to place my hands on his body. He's going to roll towards me. And I'm going to learn how to place my hands on him that affects his tension. So my hands get used to striking. And then I start rolling with it. So my hands are constantly creating the tension. And he's learning how to take the shot. And I'm learning how to keep striking with any part of my body. To any position. Tighten up. I would do the same drill, but Eric will be on top of me, and I'm working, and I'm going to look at how open him up with strikes from the bottom. However he's working is fine. I'm going to work how to move. Open him up with strikes. stay as relaxed as possible. It's basically kind of from my back and kind of from awkward positions. See where my striking opportunities come from. One of them's, and they're going to do this very slowly so you can understand this. One of them's going to put me in an arm lock, one in a leg lock, one in a choke, whatever they want to do. Yeah. Alright, and all I'm going to do initially is just problem solve. That's all. So I'm going to see what's most dangerous to me is the choke. So I have a free hand here, so I'm going to try and work this into position here. I'm going to free this part here and open up so that each part, I'm just going to see slowly how to problem solve the situation. That's all. I'm not trying to fight. I'm not trying to find something that's at some sort of technique or anything else. All I want to do is find a body position maybe that helps me understand how to open them up as the situation changes. So however they want to grab is fine. Doesn't have to be the same thing each time. There you go. Okay, so I'm going to breathe, relax. I'm going to move very slowly so you can see what's going on here. Change their body position. Free myself from the work. And that's all I'm doing. But the holds, and as the holds come in, I'm just going to work to survive whatever pressures they create. Sometimes by disrupting their movement, sometimes by just flowing with it. Always relaxing as much as possible. See how Jeff kind of pulled me over in this direction. I don't know how they grab. Okay, so I'm in a pretty tight position, as you can see. Yeah. Okay, so what I'm going to do is shift myself so that they open up, so that it opens up their lock. Something happens. Okay. I'm opening it up. 1, 2, 3. Slowly, so you can kind of see how my body, literally right off the first motion, opening. Kind of like that. If I find like the ballistic braking I was doing earlier, my hands or feet or whatever So basically start just by having them either walk through you or kick through you. And what you want to do is try and avoid their motion or avoid the damage as much as possible at first. If you do get kicked, just deal with it by relaxing, going with that motion, or avoiding it altogether if you can. So get a feeling for how it feels like to get hit. Even if they kick you in a way that picks you up, that's fine, that's what you want. You're just going to follow their motion. So if I'm in a position here and he kicks, maybe it picks me up completely. So you have to be capable of doing that. That's what those conditioning exercises at the beginning are doing. So I want to avoid, or if I do get hit, just learn how to roll with it, breathe, depending on the situation. Relax as much as possible. Work with them. Doesn't matter where you are, what position you're in. Stay relaxed, move, and then at first, just see how your body weight affects them. So if I was to avoid something and my body's here and I just fall down, I basically could take their balance. So feel what's going on. Oh. And start to look at how to affect the way that they're trying to position their feet after what's happened. Just by staying very relaxed, following the motion, and you can start to transfer them. So maybe I pick it up with my hand, transfer it to my feet, and you can see how they're kind of falling into things. One of the hard things for them is when you do something, you look like you're going to be there and then you get out the way. Because then they think they're going to land on something soft like you, and they land on something hard like concrete. So be adept at changing their position even as they're coming in. Don't allow your body to sort of fall apart from itself. You want to kind of keep yourself together. Work in lots of different ways to avoid, disrupt, pause, stay calm, keep your internal poise, so no matter what happens you can adjust with it. So even if I get kicked or whatever, it's okay. Getting hit is not the worst thing that happens during a fight. And you can also look at how to strike out of the motion. Break, all the other stuff that we were looking at. So you're just going to start. watch how relaxed my motion. And we were stretching them out earlier. So now you have 2 or 3 guys doing the same thing. And we're going to work really slowly so you can see this. Again, all I'm going to do initially is a void. And then as they start to kick, I'm going to avoid the... See if I can use that. Maybe avoiding one might affect another. Or I can take one person's motion into the other. Like that. Or use one person falling to protect me from the second person. And then once I'm comfortable doing that, start looking at how to break them out. Strike, break. Avoid, move, all of it. Okay. You get the idea?
moving, and striking. In this first DVD, Russian martial arts expert Martin Wheeler takes you on a step-by-step examination of the subtle movement and brutal striking concepts of the system. With full demonstrations in a multimedia environment, this DVD ensures you understand how to safely receive blows, generate swift and balanced movement, and deliver a range of devastating strikes to one or more opponents.